if somebody needs tires, we need to put them on that car at any cost. Regularly, we will at best break even, if not lose money, to put a set of tires on a car for a customer. It is that vitally important to our business. Any relationship of any lasting value, the very first building block to move forward is trust, and that sets the foundation. And then the second thing really is building value, not for our customers, but for the advisors and technicians.
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. I'm your host, Bill Springer. Today's podcast is sponsored by DriveSure. DriveSure helps new car dealerships remain the go-to provider for maintenance, tires, and repairs. For information on how DriveSure can help your dealership, go to drivesure.com/dealership solutions. Today, I'm excited to welcome Richard Lupo, Fixed Operations Director at Appletree Honda and Appletree Acura in North Carolina. Richard is a forward-looking leader in fixed ops, known for combining technology, team development, and a strong value-driven service experience to help keep customers coming back. In today's conversation, we'll explore how Richard is improving customer retention through innovation, leadership, and a relentless focus on delivering real value in the service lane. So let's dive right in. Richard, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I really do appreciate being a guest on your podcast. I am a consumer of it, and thank you for bringing all of your guests to us for the content that you put out there. It's always good.
Oh,
So
thank you.
glad to be a part of it, and yeah, we can dig right in.
Super.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks, Richard. That's kind of you to say. So yeah, let's just jump right in. Before we hit record here, we were talking about the role of technology really in the service department and specifically around the customer experience and its impact on customer retention. And I know that you've implemented a number of initiatives along those lines, and was curious as to what you've seen really improve the customer experience and allowed you to get traction with customer retention. So what have you seen that's worked best for you here in the last year or two?
Well, my current journey started with a cup of coffee, actually. And people that know me know that that's a frequent event in my life. Probably very distributed amongst fixed operations and the car business in general.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money car dealerships spend on coffee on a yearly basis, but I know it's certainly a lot.
It's a productivity tool.
Yeah. So I arrived in out of the Asheville, Western North Carolina area about 3.5 years ago, plus or minus, and came into a wonderful, historic, family-owned dealership, having spent most of my career with big dealer groups owning, hundreds of stores, most of them publicly traded, and my family and I made a switch to get away, and we've got a large family, and so we're concentrated on that and tried to find some place that shared those values, and we just had a fantastic experience here. But we did walk in, and shortly thereafter, Asheville and this Western North Carolina, like many communities, have a keep it local kind of vibe, and walked into a coffee shop doing some exploration. And it was just a mom and pop shop, local roasted coffee, the whole thing, kitschy, kind of cool. And it was a great experience. And they had technology, they ordered, and they swept the thing around, you sign with your finger, everything was automated, text to receipt, did all that stuff. And I grabbed that cup of coffee and went back to my new store and realized that we were way behind in our experience. We were walking up with the proverbial pencil and clipboard and provide an experience with a customer that had recently made a huge purchase, and they were getting a higher technology experience at the mom and pop coffee shop than they were at tens of thousands of square foot of beautiful marble floors and leather couches and big screen TVs, and here we are with a clipboard and a pencil. So that's what started the journey, and we have certainly made major innovations, not without their headaches. It takes real work to innovate, and so we started by uh, making sure that we were getting our estimates automated, getting them out in messaging form to our customers. And over the years, we've added just a whole host of technology. I have to give a shout out to Reynolds. We are a Reynolds and Reynolds dealer, and we've become a Reynolds and Reynolds super user over this time. We made a choice early on to, instead of having a proliferation of, you know, 27 different third party vendors that are all fighting to integrate and with each other and with our DMS, we decided to sail our ship with Reynolds and haven't regretted that at all. We've added media to our multi points. We've got pictures and videos going out on a regular basis to our customers. Texting platforms integrated into the DMS, automated messaging. So we've certainly, those were some of the first steps. Um, we recently built out a vestibule in our Honda service drive and put in a 24-hour kiosk, which has had tremendous, the effects on our customers have been 100% positive. We sell cars off of it all the time because
Wow.
there's a place that when you're checking in your car in our kiosk, it you can request an evaluation. So we sell cars from it. Customer satisfaction with the process, instead of standing out in the rain and trying to fill out an envelope through a drop slot, they come in, it's clean, it's modern, it's lit, security cameras, and they go through a kiosk, drop their keys in a drawer that pops out. Uh, Technician or the advisor comes in when they open the drawer, that automates a text message to customer letting them know that the process is being started. It's pick up and drop off, so you can pick up and drop off your car 24 hours a day
Hmm.
inside a secured area.
I'm curious, Richard, when a customer drops off their vehicle, is it basically a check-in process, or are they telling you also what they need, what they're requesting to be done on their vehicle?
So it's both. So there's a forced march through the process where you go through and are you here for an oil change, all that kind of stuff, and we back up on that. If they have an appointment, if they've made an appointment online,
Hmm.
all of that is pre-existing, and when they type in their information, it pulls up all of the stuff for their appointment that was already made, and it's a very quick process. They drop their keys in a drawer that pops out. It's secured. They get a receipt, an electronic receipt for their keys. Um, but if not, if you're just dropping off, there's go through the menu. Do you want an oil change, a state inspection? There's a whole section of check my brakes and air condition, things like that. And at the end of the process, there's a catch-all, a tell me more. How can we help you? And so they get all that information loaded into the kiosk,
Hmm.
and then that's all available for the advisor when they pick it
Okay.
up, and it all integrates right into Reynolds from there.
So it sounds like the kiosk really is taking over kind of the non-value added activities that a service advisor ideally can offload to the kiosk and allow them to really focus on where they make a difference in terms of making sure they're taking care of the customer and making sure that the customer gets the services done or at least recommended to them that need to be done. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, customers do upsell themselves all the time. They had services, even when they make an appointment, and then they get in there, and there's little blurbs about the pros and the pluses and minuses and of doing these services, and so they do upsell themselves all the time. So there are incremental sales there. What really actually, because the practicality aspect always comes in, and what really cemented the process for us and really integrated it was our service advisors, and any service advisors that really want to take a listen to this, that you can nudge your uh, fixed operations general managers to push for a kiosk with 24/7 pickup and drop off. Our service advisors are no longer waiting for that last customer to pick up that's caught in traffic.
Yeah.
They don't have to stay. They send the code out. The the payment's taken online, they drop the keys in and they're out at 6 o'clock. They don't have to wait for that customer. And so those practical fixes of things like that, that after a long day, we definitely, our service advisors are out there writing 15 cars a piece every day, if not more. They're ready to go home. And then they get the call from the customer, I'm running late, and then they're marooned for an extra 45 minutes or an hour. Uh, that has eliminated that for our service consultants. And it
Oh, that's
has
fantastic.
certainly, uh, yeah. So I get a text notification every time that they check a key in. And about 4:30 in the afternoon, I get ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
That kiosk
yeah.
starts filling up. And so it certainly has improved employee satisfaction as well.
That's great. I think going hand in hand with that, Richard, is I know that you're a big proponent, as am I, of really delivering on value to your customers in your service drive. And I'm curious in terms of what does delivering value really mean to you, and how do you make sure that customers kind of actually feel it as part of their experience and coming to your dealerships?
I define value as an equitable trade for your treasure for our talent.
Hmm.
Um, and so, our talent and our time if you feel that what you're getting from that is equitable for the amount of treasure you're spending, then you got value. You don't have to be the cheapest. Sometimes you can get away with being the most expensive. Uh, you certainly, if you're a Porsche guy and you're trying to buy a Singer Porsche, uh, you know, you can get away with being the most expensive,
Right.
and people gladly pay if they see the value in it. So you don't have to be the cheapest, and you don't have to be the most expensive, but you have to drive value. And so, um, again, on the practical side of it, where we talk about the advisors are happier because they don't have to stay late with the kiosk, uh, things that are very easily tangible to a customer. How much is an oil change? How much is it to put a set of wiper blades on our car? The things that are easily understandable, tangible to our customers, um, we make sure that we are highly, highly competitive in those areas, and we
Hmm.
advertise it. So we have a thing called the standard service. We change your oil, we rotate your tires, we put a fuel additive in, a BG. We partner with BG on it. Put an additive in the tank, wash your car, give you a full inspection, do the whole thing, lock, stock, and barrel, out the door for $100.
Hmm.
And we use the Honda oil, the Honda filter, do all that stuff. And at first, the customer is like $100 for an oil change, and then you go, no, rotating the tires, you do all that, and very quickly they see the value in that whole inclusive service. And I will tell you that over the years, we've had service advisors come in from other dealers and go, my goodness, like you're giving it away. So when it comes to those things, and especially tires, we go to the mat to sell tires. Uh, we will plainly ask a uh, customer, where do you buy your tires? You buy them at you know Billy's Tire.
Right.
We go right to Billy Tire's website, and we will turn the screen right around to the customer and say, if I can do it for that price, will you do it with us?
Hmm.
We are unashamed to price match tires. We finance the tires. We do all those kinds of things because we realize the value and the retention aspect of it,
Yeah.
and being relevant on a price point on something that is so easily comparative.
Right. Absolutely. Tires are such a big defection point for customers, and even customers who will tell you that they're extremely satisfied at their experience at your dealership over the years. When it comes time to buying tires, often they just don't either know or think of the dealership when it's time to buy tires, and that's a real defection point because if they go somewhere else, it's a good chance you may never see them again. I'm curious from your perspective, and I know that you do a lot of track a lot of key performance indicators and that type of thing. Is there anything that you can share with us in terms of what's moved the needle for you in terms of tire sales, or at least raising awareness amongst your customer base of your tire capabilities?
Educating the advisor educating our parts people as to why we do what we do. I just call it attitude. Our attitude towards it is that if somebody needs tires, we need to put them on that car
Hmm.
at any cost. Regularly, we will at best break even, if not lose money, to put a set of tires on a car for a
Hmm.
customer. It is that vitally important to our business, and that's just an attitude. One of the fixes that we have incorporated into what we do is making sure that incentives are properly placed, and so we uh, philosophically have always said that your pay plan and your job description should be in complete agreement with each other.
Hmm.
And a lot of times it's $1,000, $1,500 set of tires, and there's not a lot of profit in those. And so if you're paying your people on a gross profit basis, and the customer's got $1,000, there's a lot of profit in putting a set of spark plugs in or a set of tires with none. So we have built in incentives into the pay structure in service and in parts that provides an offset to make sure that it is top of mind to make sure that the attitude is proper to getting those tires put on the car. It is retention. So there's some things that you have to cure if you're going to make it a 360-degree effort and really move the needle on the tires.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned that it really is a team effort between parts and service and really everyone in terms of raising that awareness and making sure everybody's on the same page. And it's, I think that's a big part of a dealership's culture, culture within the dealership overall, as well as culture within the service and parts departments, and part of employee development as well. And I'm curious in terms of kind of what is your perspective in terms of what's worked for you in terms of building that culture as well as building that building employees and helping them grow and develop as not only employees but individuals.
Trust. It just comes down to trust for me. Um, any relationship of any lasting value, the very first building block to move forward is trust, and
Hmm.
that's the foundation. And so, um, so many times over my career, been in come into a shop, and the technician won't pick up the keys if there's not an hour billed on the ticket, right? I'm not, and so you build that relationship, and you say, your advisor didn't get it put on there, but I'll make sure you get paid that hour, and you ease their mind. You pay them that. Um, if you tell them you're going to give them a bonus for selling 100 tires or 50 tires, you make sure you give that bonus. You fix things. You listen to them and say, hey, if you use a tablet to check in a car, it will make your process better. And when they see the fruits of that, uh, they're inclined to trust you more. So that's the first building block, is just making sure that the people that you serve as a leader are behind you, and that starts with trust.
Hmm.
So that's the first part of culture. Um, and then the second thing really is building value, not for our customers, but for the advisors and technicians. So, in that aspect, and what I mean by that is that you make this a job by making the workplace someplace that's a great place to work. Um, you make the job worth something and desirable, and you attract better talent. And once that gets out in the marketplace, because they're all connected on social media, there are advisors and technician groups and parts guys groups and all that kind of stuff. So they're all talking to each other and sharing the crazy memes back and forth. And uh, there's a quickly others in the community get a sense that there's a change in culture, change in values, things like that. And I was very fortunate. I want to say that when I got here, uh, the foundation for all that was set. Apple Trees was a very great place to come work. So it wasn't a toxic soup environment that I walked into that had needed a complete overhaul. So I definitely want to
For sure.
make sure that, because I've been at dealerships where it was a long haul to get there, but creating value, making hey, if you don't want to be here, I got 13 other people that do want to be here because this is a great place to work, and that gets out in the ether in your local community. So bringing value to the job, that it's actually a prized place to work, building trust, that sends that culture forward, and it does have that domino effect that when the core group of people that have been here for 20 years start to get behind you, that momentum rolls out right down to the guy that's or gal that's only been here for 3 months and is parking cars. Uh, hey, they messed your, you didn't clock in and they didn't check your time and your paycheck was short. They will fix it. I promise. You're
Yeah.
not going to get, screwed out of that $20 or $100 for that day or whatever that you were getting paid. And when 25 people say, yeah, I know that they made a mistake on your paycheck, but they will make it right.
Yeah.
And we make it right, then it definitely changes that culture
Builds
pretty
build
quickly.
yeah, builds that trust. Builds that
Yeah.
trust for sure. And I don't want to I don't want to let you go, Richard, without asking you about your experience kind of leading your team, and really leaning, I'm sure, on that trust development last September during Hurricane Helene when it came through your part of the country in Asheville and really caused some significant devastation. And can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you and your team, and how you rose to the challenge?
Well, there's no roadmap for it, I don't think. So as
Yeah,
far as rising to the challenge, we just do the best we can with what we're working with and the information that we have. So I'm not going to stand here or sit here and tell you that I was some kind of iconic hero in the community.
sure.
Uh, do the best we can, and certainly we fared well as a company. Um, and it's a fine line to to lead in that situation. You have to be very uh, considerate about what the steps that you take. And our tact was to get this store back open as quickly as possible. And I saw that as an opportunity. We went right out. We were open basically the next 2 days later. We were open. We were we had enough staff, and we went right out onto the airwaves and said we're open. You can bring your car in, any make or model. We'll check it for damage. We'll do a free assessment for you, let you know your car is safe. And there was a lot of debris on roads. We fixed a ton of tires, things like that. And
Hmm.
in the very most cases, we didn't charge people for getting stuff out of their tires and whatnot. And there were certainly some charity cases that we identified, and we helped some people out. It was pretty significantly. So that was on display. And through the process, because I had some prior experience with some of the stuff, getting the store back open, getting customers back in, and getting our employees back to work, uh, begrudgingly sometimes. And some of our motives may have been questioned. It's very early on in the process, but what we figured out real quickly and was apparent through prior experience was that it built stability where there was no stability in many people's lives.
Hmm.
And so it became a hub of stability for people who were dealing with roofs, not, damaged homes, damaged, all of those things. Um, at schools, utilities, all those things. There were tons and tons of disruption in everybody's life, but they knew that they could come here. The lights were on, the utilities were on, customers here, they could earn money. And it got that routine reestablished back in their life, and it served as a source of stability for them. And it became very apparent very quick that that was the right move for us, and for our staff.
That's
So,
great.
and yeah, the first week or two, it was be here if you can be here, while you did the immediate triage in your life. And after a couple of weeks, it transitioned to be here unless you can't be here. If you have to go out and meet an insurance adjuster, no problem at all. But it quickly, the business picked up to a point where, you know, be here if you can be here. So,
That's
or
great.
be here unless you can. So
Great. Yeah, yeah.
anyway,
Thank you, Richard, for sharing those lessons with some hard-earned lessons for sure. But thanks for
Yeah,
sharing that for sure.
it's pretty tough time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Um, well, thanks, Richard, very much for being with us, and thanks for sharing so much, some really great things for I think our listeners can sink their teeth into. If any of our listeners have any questions or want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Probably the most simple way to reach me is via LinkedIn. My profile is open. My contact information's there. You can DM me there. Yeah, the store information, you can contact me through our website, all that. So I'm pretty readily available, and I'm always ready to help and contribute. It's been a wonderful, just a fantastic business, blessed my life, my family's life in so many ways, so much better than I could ever expect it. And any way that I can give back to anybody in our community, I'm always willing to do that,
That's great.
to, to pay it forward.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
That's super. Yeah, we appreciate that. And speaking of paying it forward, before I let you go, you're going to be speaking here in the next few weeks up in Baltimore. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You know,
Was
tell our listeners about that.
So Kyle and Paul, holding the, and of course everyone that supports them, those guys are out front. But their whole team at Soto they've taken our industry by storm. They're just doing a fantastic job, and they're holding the Soto Con again this year, and they've asked me to be a speaker day two, stage one, for anybody that cares. Speaking about technology, innovation, we're talking about some robots. We've done some work with robots here, always trying to push the envelope for technology, talking about how the industry is going to be impacted by automation over the next couple of years. And so I'll be there in a SotoCon, the 13th through the 16th, Baltimore, and I'd love to see you there. So,
Super.
and it's a fantastic organization, I have to say. Everybody that's part of this community knows the guys from Soto, and they're doing a great job. So I'm honored to
Super.
be a part of that. Yeah.
Great. Well, good luck with that. That sounds fantastic. Well, Richard, thanks very much for being on the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Again, Bill, thank you. It's great. It's a great time being here. You do a great job, and just can't say enough about our community at large and people like yourself that are creating the content and putting it out there for everyone else to enjoy and hopefully learn. If you go to these big conventions, or if it's a 30-minute podcast, if you take one thing away, it was worth the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Richard.
Bill, thank you.
You've been listening to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.